Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jeremy Schumacher. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm the Jer and Wellness with Jer. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the channel today. We are back with another movie review. I'm a big comic book nerd. I love to talk about mental health aspects and psychological aspects in comic book stories, and occasionally that means we do a comic book movie review. I was actually really stoked to go see Deadpool and Wolverine. I think the Deadpool franchise has been pretty good so far, and this is the first time that it's not a 20th Century Fox movie. Disney now owns Deadpool, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, I was pretty excited. Wolverine is far and away my favorite character from my childhood. I love the X-Men. That 1992 animated show, when it came out, was my jam. Wolverine was my favorite character, as with a lot of people. When I was a first grader, we had the opportunity to change names for a day. I don't know, a Spirit Week or something. Maybe it was a whole week, whatever. Like, I changed my name to Logan because Wolverine was my favorite character. So, like, yeah, I'm here for it. So let's talk about it. The short, spoiler-free version, and then we'll get into spoilers, is this movie is a lot of fun. It's the coolest and most comic accurate depiction of Wolverine we've seen so far. It is what 8-year-old Jeremy always wanted a Wolverine in a movie to be. It corrects a lot of what the X-Men franchise got wrong with Wolverine. So that's all cool. Absolutely worth the money to go see it in theater, go have some laughs. The movie is funny at times. Sometimes it's a little too self-aware and trying a little too hard, but there are parts where I chuckled audibly. That's maybe as close as I get to laughing out loud in a theater. So it's funny. It's that Deadpool humor. It's very violent. The fight scenes are really cool. There's a couple of very good fight scenes in it. And overall, as a movie, it's not good. It's fun. It's spectacle. It's worth seeing. And it's very bad cinema, is the short version. There's no real character development. Pretty much everybody other than Deadpool and Wolverine are not factors in this movie. Like, there's no other characters, and even Deadpool and Wolverine have very limited character development. It's not a full movie. It's just, I don't want to call it like a meme movie, but it's spectacle. It's the Super Bowl. It's if you love football and American football, and you care a lot about football, the Super Bowl sucks. It's too long. There's too much extra stuff. It usually isn't as good as the conference championship games from a competition standpoint. Very few Super Bowls live up to the hype. They are just, in fact, hype. That's what this movie felt like while I was watching it, and especially after I left the theater, because in the moment, I was pretty able to enjoy it. I thought it was a lot of fun. And then I left the theater and was like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Wait, that's stupid. Wait, why are there no other characters in this movie? So Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman act their hearts out. It's a lot of fun. It's almost like a buddy comedy, but like, I don't know, there are people who love it, like 10 out of 10, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think it's at an 8 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, one of those. And like, it's a 6, maybe. So it really only makes sense in context. So let's talk about the context. Deadpool and Wolverine, starring Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman. Emma Corrin plays Cassandra Nova. That's probably the main villain of the movie. Sort of. She's the obvious villainous character. And Cassandra Nova is an awesome character. She's like dark side level bad guy. She's a big deal to be the villain in a third movie with a small character arc. So that's weird. Morena Baccarin returns as Vanessa. Like, total. This is probably what bothered me the most about this movie. Let's nitpick first, and then we can talk about the cool stuff. Vanessa and Deadpool's relationship, they break up off screen, and the Deadpool fans would be like, no, they showed the breakup scene. But like, it doesn't make any sense. And I just watched Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2 like the week before, within the same week of watching Deadpool and Wolverine. And like, it's a love story. It's Deadpool 1 is a love story. Deadpool 2 is a story about family. Deadpool 3 is Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman wanted to make a Deadpool Wolverine movie. And like, that's how it feels. There's no real plot development. It's a self-contained plot that only exists to wrap its own plot up. It's very heavy on like exposition. They do a lot of telling, not showing. But one of the things they don't show is the breakup. And like Deadpool, the cinematic Deadpool only makes sense in the context of this relationship. That's all we've had with him. And so other characters like Blind Al show up. Peter is obviously a big deal in this movie. Sort of. He's a plot device. He's not a big deal in the movie itself. Um, so there's no real character development. So this big relationship that is one of the big drivers in Deadpool 1. Deadpool 1, he is dying of cancer and he's cool with that because he doesn't care about anything. But suddenly he falls in love with Vanessa and now he wants to live. That's why he goes to the dodgy thing. That's why he gets his healing powers. That's how he becomes immortal, kind of, is so he can stay alive because now he's in love. That is the whole thing. And arguably Vanessa's not a real fleshed out character in that movie, but at least like they gave Morena Baccarin a bunch to do. She isn't a super fleshed out character, but she feels important to the story. She has her own autonomy in the story. Deadpool 2, less so, but she dies and Deadpool has to figure out how to time travel to bring her back. Like that's, again, it's a plot device, but like in the context of Deadpool 1 and how much he loves her, it makes sense in Deadpool 2 that he's going to go to the ends of the world to bring her back. But ultimately Deadpool 2's plot is sort of facilitated by that, but it's much more about like, I'm going to save this troubled kid because I get it. I get what it's like to be an outcast. This isn't a bad kid. We can save him. Like that's the hero's arc. And so there isn't any of that in Deadpool 3. There's nothing to move the plot along other than what the plot tells you it is. And again, it's tell, not show in this movie, where really cinema should be show, don't tell. Exposition for the sake of exposition doesn't do a ton. As with the other Deadpool movies, this movie is incredibly self-aware, and that works really well for the comedy bits. That works really well for the cameo spots. It works really poorly for the plot. So, like, again, this movie just doesn't have any plot to it. It's timelines. It's Marvel cinema stuff. And, like, Deadpool can be like, haha, get it? Now I can do time travel because I'm in Marvel. Ooh, the Doctor Strange sparkles. Ha, 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 ha. And, like, it works. I think it works with diminishing returns. I think if it wasn't such an obvious Disney movie, it would have worked better. Like, it's all wink, wink, nudge, nudge in a way that doesn't actually challenge or upend anything. He's not deconstructing the superhero. He is just trying to be a superhero. Like, the plot of the movie is he's trying to be an Avenger. And then, like, you know, he's trying to be an Avenger so his girlfriend doesn't break up with him, but then his girlfriend breaks up with him because he's depressed about not being an Avenger. Again, like as a marriage and family therapist who likes comics, the relationship story in this movie was trash. And that's the big driver in the first two movies. So it just is like super off-putting. And then you would think, okay, well, it's called Deadpool and Wolverine. Like he's in love with Wolverine. And like in the comics, Deadpool's heartmate, some version of soulmate, is Spider-Man. It's not Wolverine. So that's a whole separate thing. But like, so it's just one of those things where it's like, but Deadpool and Wolverine is the point. So that must be the character development. But there's no character development there either. They fight a bunch and Wolverine hates him. And then they save the world or the universe or all of the things because it's a Marvel movie. So it has to be about everything. So they do that. I've moved into spoilers, obviously. I'm not a professional YouTuber. So sorry. So they save the world, the universe, blah, 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 blah. And then like they're buddies, but like gruffly because it's Wolverine. But like there's no character development where they should be buddies. Wolverine hates him. He finds him annoying and that maintains throughout. So like if that's what's driving our plot is that character development, there is none there either. So like it's very self-aware, but it falls into the own trap of what it's making fun of as Marvel movies being and just kind of becomes like a self-parody. So the plot, the movie, the concepts in the movie really are trash. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. There's really cool stuff. Wolverine and Deadpool have an incredible fight in a minivan, Honda Odyssey, which is a whole like in-joke. And like, again, that Deadpool kind of humor works. Like, whatever. I don't think it will age well, but for now it's fine. Not in like it's questionable, just in like this. I watched this movie and thought I don't have any desire to see it again other than to watch it so I can nitpick how poor of a movie it is. So like Deadpool 1 and 2 I hadn't seen in a long time. So I was like, cool, like those felt fresh-ish, not fresh totally, but like enough where it's like, oh, I forgot this part, or like, oh, I forgot this thing, like I don't remember this. But like there's a plot, there's a story, it's cool. This doesn't have any of that. So I don't know what the perk of going back to it is. It feels very much like a meme movie, like it was made for snippets to be posted online and get a lot of likes and traffic and people laugh at, but like there's no real character development. It's not something that I want to watch again. I want to maybe see scenes from it. That fight scene in the van is pretty great. There's a scene where Deadpool and Wolverine have to fight a bunch of Deadpools and they do it on a bus. And like, that's cool. That's a cool scene. But like, again, the story around it sucks. The story around it sucks. So, obvious spoilers here beyond just like the good guys win. And I get into some of the nitty gritty plot points of it. It's very self-aware, and I think in the context of like, if you know this is Ryan Reynolds' love letter to Fox 20th Century, thank you for letting me make this movie. Let's talk about the other superhero movies that you made that like haven't, been brought into the Marvel universe. Like, let's do it. So we get some really cool cameos. We get some like funny stuff. So Deadpool's trying to get into the Avengers, and then like Chris Evans shows up. So you're like, hell yeah, Captain America. And Deadpool is like, hell yeah, Captain America. He's going to say Avengers Assemble. And then he says flame on because he was Johnny Storm. But like, again, it's a weird, like, I feel like this movie was made for my generation, for millennials, because it is dependent on loving X-Men as the 92 X-Men, X-Men 97, that nostalgia run. But like X-Men 92 is when that X-Men run started, 5 seasons of that OG X-Men show. So like X-Men Evolution came out later, and like X-Men and Wolverine came out later. There have been other iterations, but like that was kind of like that Chris Claremont run in the comics in the late 80s and early 90s into the show. Cool, really great stuff. So like knowing that, and then being around for Elektra being a movie because Jennifer Garner's in, getting that Fantastic Four reference because you saw the failed attempts at the Fantastic Four. There have been multiple at this point. So you remember Chris Evans before he was Captain America. He was Johnny Storm, flame on. You remember Blade. That was probably my favorite cameo in the show. Wesley Snipes as Blade. Got to be a badass. Still looks badass. Maintains his badassness. It was kind of like, I don't need to be a like punchline in this movie. My movies are great. And like, they're not. The first one was fine. He's a vampire hunter. It's not supposed to be awesome. Van Helsing is an awesome movie. Thinking of Hugh Jackman and vampire hunting. Van Helsing's one of my guilty pleasure movies. But like the original Deadpool came out in 2016, right? So let's do some math here. Let's say you're a 20-year-old, which means you were born in 2004. That's weird. That makes me feel old. The original Deadpool came out in 2016. So you were 12 when the original Deadpool came out as a 20-year-old. So like maybe you saw it. Maybe your parents were like, cool, you can go see an R-rated movie. Cooler than my parents were. So you go see this movie in theater. You see the second one, you like it. So like you're up to date on Deadpool, but you don't know Elektra. You don't know Blade. You don't know, like, so some of this is like really old references. So you're like, oh yeah, but you like comics. So then you know all this. And like, I don't think a 20-year-old who went to see Deadpool when they were 12 knows all these old references. So maybe it's a nice way to fold new fans into like this love letter to 20th Century Fox and like this older generation of superhero movies. But again, like for the most part, they're not taken super seriously. Like Johnny Storm is the punchline. And if there's ever a Fantastic Four movie that's good, I'll be surprised. It just, for whatever reason, hasn't translated real well to the screen. And I don't know that the new one is going to either, let's be honest. So it's just one of those things where it's like some of those references are old. And like, it feels very much geared towards me sitting in the theater watching it. I'm like, that's cool. But also like, is everyone getting this? Is everyone understanding this? And like that towing that line of like love letter, but also like kind of using some stuff as a punchline. So we get to see these characters be badasses. They are not made fun of. But yeah, I don't know. There's not like a resolution. And I see online like, oh, I'd watch that lineup. Like, that's cool. Put them in a superhero movie. Like, don't call it X Force, but call it something else. And like, no, you wouldn't go see that movie. There isn't Electra 2 because nobody wanted to see it. It was a bad movie. There are already three Blade movies. Like Triple H is in one of them, is how slow they started to stoop by the end of it that they got professional wrestlers to be vampires. Like before professional wrestlers like Dave Bautista and to a lesser degree John Cena and to an even lesser degree The Rock were big time movie stars. Dave Bautista's hands down the best pro wrestler turned actor in acting, not pro wrestling. None of them were good pro wrestlers. Uh, but it's one of those things where, like, I don't know. There's a running joke in Deadpool and Wolverine where Ryan Reynolds says to Hugh Jackman, like, till you're 90, bud, like, we're going to keep doing this. Now Disney owns you. So we're just going to crank out when we need the cash cow. Here you come. So I don't know. Again, like, it's self-referential, but it's also like, right, what are we doing? Giving this a loving send-off is fine, but then like kill them. And that sounds harsh, but like wrap up their stories. Otherwise, it feels like you're going to poke fun at this and then do the thing that you made fun of anyway. So I didn't love that. Let's talk about some other plot stuff. The opening scene's pretty funny because Deadpool's like digging up Wolverine's grave after Logan because in universe he's aware of the movie Logan and that Wolverine is dead, and he does what anyone would do, which is like he can't die, so obviously he's still alive. I'm going to bring him back and let him heal, and that's just a skeleton, and then he uses a skeleton to fight off a bunch of agency people. And like now, I haven't seen every Marvel thing because the Marvel movies also suck. Come at me, MCU fans. They're not good. They're spectacle over substance, and like whatever, it's fine. Wanking motion. There's too many of them, so I haven't seen all of them. But I definitely haven't seen all the shows. So like the movie kind of makes fun at like, oh, this character's from Loki season 2, ha ha ha. In case you haven't seen that, which like right, we haven't seen that. Like the Marvel movies do big box office numbers, but a bunch of people go see them more than once, and not like none of the Marvel shows have done that well. So we like you're going to reference this stuff, but we haven't seen it. That's where like Marvel has done too much and it feels like homework to kind of keep up with it. So I don't know. That part of it was kind of, again, like self-referential. Ha ha ha. Isn't this funny? But also like we're kind of doing the thing that we're making fun of. So I didn't love that. But again, super fun. Like Blade is cool and looks cool, and Elektra is cool. Gambit does almost like the blow up from The Boys, the special effects in the TV show The Boys, where like he just explodes people. Like right, he's charging like explosive plasma cards and throwing them at people. They would blow up. So like it worked really well, and I think the R rating helped some of these characters seem badass. Most badass we've seen Wolverine. He like lunges on all four. He's far more animalistic. It's cool that he swears. We see him smoking a cigar. We see Henry Cavill playing Wolverine smoking a cigar, which was maybe my favorite cameo in the show. That they didn't let it linger. Like he's not a recurring character. So a lot of that stuff was fun. And like if you think the 8-year-old Jeremy who grew up loving Wolverine and the X-Men was not ecstatic to see that yellow suit that Wolverine wears in the movie, and then being like building. Wolverine's cool. His sleeves get ripped off. So finally he looks like the Wolverine that I remember from my childhood. And then I'm like, is he going to put on the mask? There's no mask. There's no mask. There's no mask. And then finally he pulls the mask down. Chef's kiss. 8-year-old Jeremy was so stoked. The little child inside of me was like, hell yeah, that's my Wolverine. He's going to go fuck some shit up. And he did. He killed a bunch of Deadpools. They came back to life because it's Deadpools. But it was cool and violent and bloody and swearing and like, I love the lunge. He finally does like the Wolverine lunge. And so like the nostalgia beat there is really strong. But again, like that's my generation. I don't know that my 18-year-old nephew is going to catch that. I don't know that my nephews who are not 18, who are older than 18, are going to catch some of these references because they would have been really young for some of this stuff. So I don't know. Like again, and I don't think that makes a bad movie. Like I don't think some of these people are gonna care. I'd be like, oh, that's an old superhero movie. Okay, like I get it. Ha 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 ha. I get the joke. Cassandra Nova is in the movie kind of explained as like Charles Xavier's twin in the womb that he like kills, or she tries to kill him and he banishes her, whatever, blah, 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 blah. It's from the Grant Morrison run of comics. I'm going to nerd out on comic books for a little bit, where like Grant Morrison kind of took like Shadow from Carl Jung's work of like, we all have a dark side, and was basically like, what if Charles Xavier's dark side was an actual being? So Cassandra Nova is like bigger than like Dark Phoenix. Like she's Charles Xavier but bad. Like that's a big deal. And so her character is really well acted. She is very creepy in the film. The CGI where she like puts her hands inside people's heads to like read their minds is cool. I get skeptical of superhero movies and some of the CGI that like aren't special effects based, because like practical special effects, because they're not going to age well. Lord of the Rings from the early 2000s still has better special effects than like a Marvel movie from 2020. So like, I don't know, some of that I'm like, that's cool, but like, I don't know if it's going to age well. And like, I don't know, maybe regular people don't watch movies like this. This is how I watch movies. So yeah, it was just kind of, I guess, her character felt really cool and threatening, and then like flat, like they just destroy her. Like, oh no, they're right beneath you, and like the thing you're doing to take over the world isn't working, but you're just gonna power through because you're the most powerful evil telepath that's ever existed, and you can't pause what you're doing. You can't reach your telepathic powers below you to stop what's happening. Like Deadpool and Wolverine have no resistance to the mental attacks, have no resistance to her telepathic powers. Like they're an awful partnership to stop her. So again, it's just like kind of that like self-contained plot. And like when I say self-contained plot, I mean like the plot only exists because it says that it exists. And the plot moves forward to resolve the plot. Like it's just a self-contained circle. That's different than a self-contained story, which I think I really like in superhero movies. Like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is a self-contained story. It's not about the whole galaxy. It's not about everything. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy 2, galactic threat. The entire universe could end. And like Marvel and Disney do this. They have to up the stakes every movie, and it just gets bigger and bigger, and then it gets dumb. Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2 stay pretty self-contained. Not that the plot is self-contained, but the movie is a local story as opposed to being about galaxy. And this one flirts into the galaxy. We get the multiverse stuff. It's Deadpool's first movie with the MCU. So like some of it's cool. Some of it I think is, again, like making fun of it, but then doing it anyway, which doesn't work for me or work for the character. And again, I just like the stuff with Vanessa doesn't make sense. And like Deadpool isn't morally ambiguous. He's a bad guy. He's an anti-hero in the sense that like he never reaches heroic status. He does heroic things. Sometimes he does the wrong thing for the right reason. Sometimes, very rarely, does he do the right thing for the right reason. But often he'll just do bad stuff because you'll pay him. So like, again, I just think like they could have ended the movie with like closing the loop on some of these characters to have like Deadpool go back and kill them. Like he's not the good guy. He's not your hero. Now he killed the people that you were happy to see on screen briefly, but he just murdered them because that's what Deadpool does. When the United States presidents come back as zombies and you can't have Superman lasering them in half, or it wouldn't be Superman. You can't have the Avengers. You can't have Thor killing Abraham Lincoln. You have to have Deadpool do it because Deadpool's not a good guy. And so like, that's where he exists in the comics. That's where he exists, I think, everywhere. Like, he's a tweener. He's never fully a hero, but like these movies are like dead set on he's a hero. And like, I think it's more morally ambiguous. He's not a hero who swears a lot and is violent. He's not a good guy. He's not strictly a bad guy. I also think just with that, like the breakup could have worked if we see Deadpool's trauma. Like he's crazy in the comic books. He's funny. He's unhinged, but he's like pansexual and ADHD and very prone to emotional fits and like kills people for no reason because they bother him for something stupid. Like he's unstable. He's not like, ha ha, cool. He likes to be weird and he leans into it. Like he is chaos. It is chaotic in his brain. It is unstable and he refuses any help. So he's not okay. And like that's what happens when you die over and over and over again. That's what happens where even if you have a healing factor, you're horrific. It's not just look at my skin. No one could love me because it's ugly. I look like an old avocado fucking another avocado. Uh, no, he's broken beyond repair. And like as a therapist, I'm like, oh, that doesn't happen. But like as a therapist, also we don't come back from the dead. So I don't have to deal with this very often. I don't deal with people having the repeated trauma of dying over and over again. I imagine that's pretty bad. The trauma that I do deal with that's based in reality is really bad. So, and that messes up people for years. So like, again, it's like they could have broken them up if they wanted to. Show it, put it in the movie. Don't make it be about the Avengers and she broke up because he's depressed. Like, I don't know. He's Pan in the comics, like obviously. Spider-Man's his heartmate. So I don't know. They kind of like they brought back like the pegging joke. Like he's not like proudly LGBTQ plus, but he's also like again, he's chaos. Like if something's in front of him and he's feeling it, then he's feeling it. And he'll sleep with dudes, he'll sleep with ladies, he'll sleep with animals, monsters, villains, creatures, whatever. Like he's Deadpool. He can do that. He can get away with it because he doesn't have to be a good guy. And at some point in the comics, he has a kid, and then he stops being such a bad guy. He's the merc with a mouth, but he's no longer killing kids because good guys don't kill kids. Like, cool. So, like, I still think there's a way to give him some standards, but to have him not be a hero. And this one just felt like so. He's just the good guy. He's just the hero. And yeah, he's trying to get in the Avengers to get back the girl. That's also like it's sort of misogynistic. Like Vanessa's never had a great storyline. She felt okay in 1. She was dead in 2. So like that's a trope, like the dead wife trope. And then in 3, she's not anything. Neither is Dupinder. Peter's really the only side character who gets any like sort of reaction and gets to do anything. So I don't know. He like does all this for her, but there's no autonomy. Luckily, they didn't like put a bow on it and have them get back together because he did all this for her. Because again, that would have given her no autonomy. Like grand gesture that the guy does that the woman doesn't ask for shouldn't be a win. That's not what romance is, boys. Like figure it out. Listen to your partners. Let's do things that are consensual and treat women with autonomy because they have autonomy. So, but like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't love that aspect of it all. The ugly dog joke was overdone, I thought, but I thought Nice Pool was really funny. I thought Nice Pool was funny because Ryan Reynolds' assumably natural Canadian accent came out, which was way, way funnier. The breaking of the fourth wall where Nice Pool looks at the camera and says the proposal and Deadpool gets all offended. Like, you think that's what I do? Like that's how I break the fourth wall. It's more complex than that. And so like there's some good humor in it. There's some funny stuff. Some of the fight scenes are really good. The fighting in the Honda Odyssey and the fight scene in the bus are cool. Again, I might have just been like so overcome with happiness that Wolverine finally put his mask on that the fight scene in the bus might not have been that cool, but I was just like, hell yeah, Wolverine with a mask. I will say Deadpool's white eyes works better than Wolverine's white eyes. They should have been smaller and like more slits than they were a little anime-esque, but like I'm nitpicking. Again, I was happy that he put on the mask. It was just comparing them later on to be like Deadpool's mask works a little bit better than Wolverine's mask. Still really cool though. So yeah, I don't know. I 6 out of 10. Like it's not worth rewatching, but it's fun to watch once. And if you're a millennial and you grew up on this stuff, like absolutely go see it. I think even if you're just like a fan of Deadpool or Wolverine, like go see it. If you like Logan, if you thought that was a good movie, like this is not that. Because that was story driven. But this is a different Wolverine, and I think like a worthwhile Wolverine. Like I think it's fun. I got to see a bunch of versions of Wolverine. Henry Cavill playing Wolverine. You got to see the brown and yellow suit. So Hulk makes an appearance from Wolverine versus Hulk. So like there's a bunch of cool, there's a bunch of cool stuff. It's cool. It's spectacle. The story sucks. If you like any of Deadpool's characters, Negasonic, Teenage Warhead, like any of the recurring cast, they show up in this movie, but they don't do anything. Peter, sort of. So I don't know. Go see it. Let it be fun. It's stupid. let's hope Disney does not crank out a bunch of these. Let's hope Ryan Reynolds is protective of it and doesn't let that happen. Let's hope Hugh Jackman doesn't let that happen. I'm at half an hour. Last thing I'm going to complain about. We need to stop the body objectification in movies of women first. Let's do that. Let's take care of the women first, because that's still a problem. But of ripped dudes, like Henry Cavill's like a freak. Again, I maintain no way did he not do steroids to look like he does. But the way these things are filmed are deeply unsafe. And so, like, if you don't know about some of these things they do for photo shoots, for media, like the diet they take is crazy, but like that's under supervision and whatever. But to get like an ab poppy scene, or to get like really great bicep, like they're dieting where they're not eating food, but they're drinking a bunch of water, so they're putting on mass, but then they go on like a water fast for like 3 days to like really get like that pop, that muscle to pop, because they're dehydrated. And that's not safe. That leads to people being like woozy on camera, like woozy while they're filming. Like, it's not worth it. If we want that, CGI it in. And like, we can complain about the Photoshop and make it fake later and how we should stop doing this. Like, I don't have a ton of issues with superheroes looking superhero. Like, it's fiction. This isn't aspirational. It shouldn't be. It should just be, these are gods, truly, lowercase g. I'm an atheist, but like these are not human. So like, this is not the peak human standard. So yeah, the ab scene, like, played for laughs, kind of like, maybe we should stop having females have to starve themselves. Maybe we should stop having actors or actresses, just actors, everybody, all of them, be woozy on set because they're unsafe, because we dehydrated them so that they could look good for this one shot. Like, just saying, that's not great. We should move past that. It's not healthy to be dehydrated. It's not good for you. So yeah, more spectacle than substance. If you're a fan of the genre of superheroes, if you're a fan of the Deadpool series, if you want to see Wolverine fuck some shit up and swear, it's worth seeing. It probably isn't worth a rewatch, I guess, is where I'm at. It's fun. It's not a good movie. If you can hold space for it's just fun, and it's stupid, and it doesn't make any sense, and it's poorly crafted. It's a poorly crafted story. The acting is great. Everything about it is done at a high level. Just the story sucks. But it's fun. So if you want to go see it because it'd be fun for you to go see because you like Deadpool or you like comics, it's not making you think. It's not a good deconstruction. Doesn't move a lot forward. It just is funny at places. It's fun overall, and it's stupid. Deadpool and Wolverine. So thanks for hanging out, stopping by, checking out the channel. Thanks for listening to me ramble about superhero stuff. I talk about comics often on my channel. If there's something you want to see me review or talk about, drop down in the comments and leave me a message. I'm going to talk about The Boys. I'm going to talk about the comic of The Boys soon. I got a video about Rick and Morty coming up. I have some other stuff coming up. I do song reviews, breakup reviews. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist who specializes in working with adults with ADHD and religious trauma and sports performance. I don't know. I like to talk about mental health a lot, and pop culture gives me an excuse to talk about mental health stuff. So if there's something you want to hear me talk about, drop down in the comments, like, subscribe, do all those YouTube-y things. I appreciate it. All right. Thanks for stopping by. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Peace.